Hello, my name is David. I'm a U.S. Navy veteran. Um, the purpose of this video, I don't know. I just I don't know if it's gonna be useful for anybody, but the purpose of my channel has always been to document things that I find important. So important to me. So hopefully, if one person gets something positive out of this, then great. Been watching on YouTube a lot of videos about people explaining ranks, and they're talking about their experiences in boot camp, giving tips, experiences in the service, and all that. Particularly the Navy, which is my mother branch, um, and you know, my experiences in the Navy were in the 1990s, and that was a long time ago. It's as the years go by, it becomes more distant. It was just a small portion of my life, and but one that has a lot of influence on what happened after. Um, so hopefully, like I said, this will be of any help. My bootcamp experience and my Navy experience was so long ago, that may not be helpful for somebody that is about to join the Navy or thinking about joining the Navy, or somebody that's already in the Navy. But because obviously the uniforms have changed, the some rates have disappeared, some have been created, some have merged. The mission of the Navy is a little different now. Society at large is different. So and that has influenced somewhat the culture of the Navy. So, but I think the living uh in the service, the living experiences of being in the service, and what happens when you get out remain the same and are universal. I think in my experience, I now I've been a biomedical engineer for close to 2 decades now, and in different disciplines, I have worked at VA hospitals or clinics, and when I go there, regardless of what branch people served in, I always find kinship. Like we're part of this club, where no words or explanations are needed. I know what you lived. I know what you experienced. And I felt it through. I feel it too, or felt it. And at the same time, it doesn't matter if you serve 20 years before me or 20 years after me. There's no difference. It's the same thing. Um, so hopefully, like I said, this will do anybody some good. Why I joined the Navy? Well, I didn't join the Navy out of patriotism. There was some pride in that. My father had served in the army. My grandfather had served in the army, but it was just a sense of adventure. I wanted to travel the world, and I couldn't see it any other way other than serving. I wasn't coming from a wealthy family, so the allure of money to go to college was there. And besides, I was born and raised in Puerto Rico, small island in the Caribbean. I did not. I was hungry to see other parts of the U.S., and I also wanted to just get out of my comfort zone. I have friends that were very comfortable staying in the same town where they have been born and raised, and where they knew everybody and everybody knew them. I was not that way. I wanted to travel and see different things, so I joined in 1994, same year I graduated high school. Um, I joined as an undesignated airman, which I don't recommend anybody to join under any undesignated open contract, whatever they call it now. If you're gonna join knowing exactly the type of job you're gonna do. trust me, nobody is gonna care about you. Nobody's gonna do you any favors. Once you're in, they got you in, and they're gonna try to take advantage of you. Recruiters are used car salesmen. They have quotas to fill, and they are going to do whatever possible to get you in, so they can get their bonus. And also, one of the things about recruiting is those guys are not going out to sea. Those guys are not deploying. They are sometimes they are in their hometowns, far away from a Navy base, far away from the ocean, far away from military bases. So in the case of my recruiter, the guy had been in the Navy at that time about 11 years, and 8 of those years have been, let me see, 8, 9, 10. I think 6 or 7 of those years have been recruiting. He was that good. He was a lithographer's mate, which is a rate that doesn't exist anymore. And what that is are the guys that were in charge of making copies, the materials to reproduce documentation, which was a real pain in the rear. Back in the old days, if you went to school in the 70s or 80s, or like I did, you remember teachers like creating the test in this. It's like a ink paper that will put in a drum, and that will roll, and that will make copies over and over and over and over and over of the test. That's before we had copy machines, which originally were called Xerox machines, right? So they actually had a rate that will do that, and that rate doesn't exist anymore. So it was a lithographer's mate. I found out later he actually never served on a ship. So this guy, it was basically, he ended up retiring 20 years, and like I said, all that time as a recruiter, because he was that good. He just got people in, and that's it. Like I said, you will find people like that. They'll just say and do whatever it needs to be said or done to get you there. If you have problems, sometimes they will follow you, and the military is not this magic pill that you take and everything becomes a reality. In my case, like I said, I went to Great Lakes. At the time, San Diego and Orlando had closed, so it was very ill prepared to receive that many recruits. That was definitely was not prepared to receive any females. Um, the barracks were the 1910 barracks. I heard that now Great Lakes, they remodeled the whole thing, and they have these spacious places, but they were like pre-World War I barracks, and they were, the base was tiny. My experience in boot camp was not the greatest. When I went in, we still had remnants of people who had served in Vietnam, people who had come from the old school, where they will, if a recruit wasn't doing what he was supposed to be done, what he was supposed to be doing, they will physically beat that person up. There was a lot of psychological games that will play with the recruits. Very little sleep, very little food. The weather was horrible, so cold, and they hardly ever kept the buildings warm enough. The clothing that we had was, looking back, wasn't the best to keep us warm. I remember in the schoolhouse going to the restroom and turning those hair dryers or air hand dryers. I'm sorry, and getting under them to stay warm. It was just a miserable time. But I managed to graduate boot camp. I graduated boot camp Friday, March 31st, 1995. I've never forgotten. It was the first time that I had earned anything um, beyond anything. I feel that my high school diploma was just given to me because, well, I went to school, I did the work. But here, if if I didn't graduate boot camp, it was tough. It was to nobody's benefit but my own. And if it was the first time that I earned a title, I was a United States sailor. And when I left Great Lakes, I left with the sense that I was becoming part of this big organization, and that I was putting my brick on the wall. After that, I don't know if I said before already, but I signed for a 3-year contract. I wasn't. I wanted to sign for two originally, but that program had ended a few months before I joined. Like I said, I wasn't, I didn't never felt that I was a career person. I just wanted to try it out. I just joined for the adventure, and if I turned out that I was gonna love it, well, I would have re-enlisted. So, I went to ATD school. I was an undesignated airman. To be quite honest, I didn't learn anything close to fixing or working on airplanes. It was like this generic course to get you familiar to how naval aviation works. To be quite honest, all that could have been given to me in a packet and be sent to the fleet because, quite honestly, I didn't learn anything that will be advantageous. I ended up getting stationed on the USS George Washington. At the time, stationed in Norfolk, Virginia, was the newest aircraft carrier. It was only 3 years old when I arrived. I had seen the GW in Puerto Rico in February 1994. Ponce, Puerto Rico was the first port outside of the mainland U.S. that the ship had been that had visited. So this helped me a lot because when I was doing the check-in, people would be like, "So where are you from?" I'm like, "Oh, Puerto Rico." "Oh, we've been there. I've been there." Everybody had such a great memory and experience with Puerto Rico, Puerto Ricans, that I wasn't a stranger, and it was pretty cool. They felt that it was pretty cool that I was now a member of the crew. Um, the, how I ended up in my department was that they had all the because I jumped the story. When I got to Norfolk, Virginia, the ship was out on sea trials because he had spent 6 months in the shipyards, and it was out to sea, basically testing the battle readiness of the ship. So I spent 2 weeks in TPU. I think it's like transitional personnel unit. So I was in the barracks doing basically nothing, having a good time, and I'm like, yes, I love active duty Navy. One of the things I realized when I got there was that the active duty Navy and boot camp, the cultures are two total different places. In boot camp, if you join right out of high school, you're among peers. For most part, was holding your hand, telling you what to do. In the fleet, there's a lot of people trying to take advantage of you, especially if you're a female. Just gotta say it out loud. There's a lot of people always trying to scam you. There's people outside that gate with their E1 and up approved cars that are crap, or trying to get you to sign up for some BS that will come straight out of your paycheck, etc., etc. There's always somebody trying to prey on you because you're a military member. Then there's always somebody trying to pull rank on you, trying to make you do their work, or try to just bully you just because. So it's a world that you're thrown into. Plus, now you're with people that are much older than you too. People that have been in the service for a long time, they already know the ropes. And because I wasn't in a command, I was just in this barracks. It was a free for all, really. It was open bay, which is basically just a big room with beds. So when our ship got there, I was really ready to move forward. So our ship got to the pier. I was lucky enough that in TPU I had met a guy that had gone to my school, that was from my hometown. We had gone to AT school around the similar time, and because the GW had been a ship that had been commissioned, and then gone to American cruise, and then have returned in the very short amount of time. It had been filled with a lot of people that were fresh out of boot camp that just decided all I want to do is just do one enlistment and get out. So in 1994, 95, you were seeing a lot of personnel movement coming out of that ship. So all these A schools, all these ATDs, they were just dumping people there. So a lot of the people that I went to ATD school ended up on the GW, and so I knew a few faces. That was good. And so the moment when I am waiting for this huge ship to allow us in on the pier was captured in the 1995 A Day in the Navy uh, um, edition of the All Hands magazine. So if you Google that 1995, you see me very little in the pier waiting with my friend Alex Rodriguez to get back on the ship. So we got there. They asked everybody, okay, so what's your rate? What's your rate? And then we're like, well, we're undesignated. Okay, we'll stay here in this corner. And air and weapons came in and start basically poaching people. Air Department had filled their quota with a lot of people that have been flown into the ship prior to my arrival. So weapons was the department that got the bulk um out of all this or new recruits, well, new sailors. And I went to the weapons office, and they're like, okay, you're going to G1, G2, G3, G4, and me and my buddy ended up in G1. AWSI, that stands for Aircraft Weapons Equipment Support. So not only did I ended up in a rate that I I didn't have no interest in, because I didn't want to be when I looked at aviation rates, I'm like, I don't want to be an AO. So I ended up doing the crappiest work, which was to sand, paint, clean the equipment that is used to transport bombs and missiles. Um, uh, then operate the weapons elevators to bring ammunition and ordnance from the magazines to the hangar bay and then to the fly deck. Um, Also, I worked in the nitrogen plant. I ended up running the place, basically filling up bottles for the launching systems of missiles. And we, as a department, did the import security. Basically, a guy with a weapon guarding the entry to the ship. Oddly enough, my experience with preventive maintenance and hunting for gear and keeping documentation and all that helped me in my career later on as a biomedical equipment tech, um, because that's what I do for a living now. But I don't want to jump ahead in the story. So it was fun. I did two med cruises, travel all over the Caribbean, the Mediterranean, the Red Sea, the Indian Ocean, um, the Persian Gulf. It was just a fantastic experience. Met a lot of people. The real sadness of the whole thing is, to me, is it was before the internet, so and before cell phones. So a lot of the stories, a lot of things that happened to me are in my head. I was never able to capture that. I took tons of pictures, but they are never. They never tell the true story of everything that happened. Unfortunately, you make a lot of close relationships, and some of those guys re-enlist and then move to another command. Some of those guys decide to get out of the Navy, and then they leave. So unfortunately, some guys make mistakes. They get kicked out, which is a sad thing when you have been in the trenches, if you will, with these guys, and they get to go home empty-handed, no benefits, nothing. Your heart breaks for them, for those guys. Um, but for me, like I said, every time somebody left, I was always happy for them. They're like, oh, they're going to the big things. They're going to all their dreams are gonna come true, right? But when it was my turn, when I was leaving the bubble, when I was leaving the safety net, it was really tough. It was really tough for me. Airman David Valentin, G1 Division, Weapons Department, USS George Washington. I had some purpose. And when I got out, when I was discharged, I was an unemployed high school graduate. That's it. That's all I had. High school diploma, DD 214, no job, living in my parents' house, and it was really devastating. Um, I went back to Puerto Rico after I got discharged. And I'm gonna jump in the story just for a second. And I um I remember being on my in my watching TV in the morning, the morning news, and my dad comes in and slams the paper in front of me. He goes, "Hey, it looks like one of your buddies is on the front cover." And I look, and it was a first class from the um, flight deck shop of my division, pushing some Mark 82s, these 500 pound bombs. And I looked at it and I'm like, oh my God, wow. Um, that was me. I did that. All these people in Puerto Rico are looking at that and wonder, wow, that seems amazing. I did that. I was there last month. I was there. That was me. Um, and then my parents had to go to the courthouse to fill out some document or something that they had going on because they were gonna make some additions to the house or something. I don't remember what it was. And when I went there, I remember seeing one of a police officer about my age. She looked so cute, and I just like looked at her. Like, oh wow, that girl looks cute. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, she's a police officer. She has a job. You're a bum. Look at you. And I looked at myself, and I looked so poorly dressed, and I felt like I had no purpose. I have nowhere to go. I'm scruffy now, but like I look very scruffy after years of shaving every day. And at that point, I said, I gotta figure something. I gotta do something immediately. To go back for a minute, my time came up. January 6th of 1998, I was flown off the ship. Um, all the guys in my division bid me farewell. It was really heartbreaking to leave the burden, the place that I had been home, place that I had come back to after going to see my family in Puerto Rico so many times, the place where I had gone back to after being out in town in Norfolk or in some foreign port. My little rack, I have a picture of me in it, which was the only place where I had privacy that was mine. I left a lot of good friends behind, and you know, you don't think about it until that moment arrives. Um, I was put on a cod. I was shot from the catapult, and the last thing I saw of the USS George Washington was the ship coming at me, and then the clouds covered the ship, and that was it. Next thing you know, I ended up in Bahrain, and then I spent there about a week. Then I was flown from there to Sigonella, from Sigonella to the Azores, from the Azores to Philadelphia, Philadelphia to Norfolk. I was in Norfolk for about a week and a half, where again I had to see my friends leave little by little. Um, which was shocking. Like I said, this is before the internet and Facebook and all this. So when you were saying goodbye to your friends, you were saying goodbye to your friends. Um, so what I ended up doing was I ended up grabbing the last of my money, bought a plane ticket. I moved to Orlando, where I have been living since. Went to college. In college, I ran into guys that had just gone out of the Navy themselves. One of them was in the reserves, so I did the reserves for about 2 years. I ended up getting out because, quite honestly, we were not doing anything, just telling the same sea stories like I've been doing for the last 24 minutes already. Um, and the weekend, the drill weekend was sort of like always in the way. Like you work during the week and you're tired, and then you go to do this thing, and then you have to go to work onto the following weekend when you finally get rest. I just don't want to do it anymore. I think I had given my country enough of my time. Regrets that I have. I never made petty officer. Sadly, because of the way the cycle was, I didn't take the third class test until I think it was about maybe 10 months before my discharge. And by the time I got to take it a second time, um, it was basically 3 months before I got discharged. So I actually never found out the results of the second time I took the test, because I had joined um, for such a short period of time. All the things that happened to me, I was supposed to be leave boot camp as an E2 because I had some college credits, but my recruiter failed to submit my transcript on time, so I did not get that, which was foolish because basically I left money on the table and the opportunity to move faster in rank. Um, and Yeah, I mean, like I said, it wasn't all bad. I ended up getting an associate's degree in electronics engineering and a bachelor's degree in technology management, with a minor in computer networking. And I have worked in the medical field since. I have worked repairing lasers, general biomedical equipment from pumps to beds to surgical equipment, to, I mean, pretty much when you go to a hospital, I can work on everything, x-ray machines, anesthesia. I've done all that. Right now I'm doing the same thing in the veterinary side, so I think that's pretty cool. It's more laid back, it's easier. If our patients don't make it, we just put them in a bag and tell them to bury them in the backyard. My experience was fun. It was an adventure. So if you're thinking about joining the Navy, why not? You know, it's what the Navy will give you what you put in. You know, I think I still meet guys like when I travel for work and I run into guys and they're dressed blues, going from one station to the other. I'll say hello to them, tell them, hey, stay in there, shipmate, whatever, Um, uh, when I run into people that have served in the Navy, it's always fun to find out where they were stationed at, what job they did, and all that. I think it was just it was a great experience. It was very good. Um, will I do it again? Absolutely. It was fun. Maybe if I got to redo it, knowing what I know now, things would have been different. But if I can give advice to anybody, um, don't believe 100% everything your recruiter says. Try to get the best deal as possible. I remember when you pick that job, you have to do that job. There's no way you're gonna be able to change that. If you get an A school, do not drop your A school to go into boot camp early. A lot of people did that. I don't understand why. Like, oh, I want to go to boot camp right away, so I dropped my A school to come in as undesignated. It's foolish. Um, that said, like I said, in 2020, 2021, in the 21st century, the Navy obviously is going to be different. So a lot of things that I can tell you about boot camp, this and that, are going to be worthless. But I can tell you that in boot camp, if I can give you any advice, don't volunteer for anything. Don't do it. To be honest with you, it doesn't achieve anything. Anything you do in boot camp really doesn't translate into the fleet. If you were a RPOC, or if you were a yeoman, if you were a section leader, nobody gives a rat's about that in the fleet. And as a matter of fact, people that brag about those things in the fleet, become people that nobody wants to associate with. Take care of people. People will take care of you. Don't be a snitch. Don't be a rat. Don't be some a brown noser. Just do what you have to do in order to accomplish the mission. You're gonna have a lot of fun. I can tell you that. Um, the best friendships, the closest friendships I ever had in my life were with those guys. And I'm fortunate that through the magic of social media, I've been able to reconnect with many of them. And I will leave you with this because I found myself now rambling. And I think I already told my Navy story already. In 2015, I went back to Norfolk, Virginia. First time I had been there since 1998 to a friend's retirement ceremony. He stayed in for 20 years. And me and another friend of ours who had also gone out of the Navy after his enlistment, he actually got off, got out of the Navy about a year and a half after I left, was there. So we went to the ceremony, and I gotta be honest with you, I was like jealous, like seeing all these guys in Navy uniforms. It made me so nostalgic for that camaraderie, right? That thing. And our senior chief, our division senior chief, who had since retired as a master chief, was the person to deliver the retirement speech. The retiree gets to pick a person that have been in his career influential, and that person gets to talk about the accomplishments the individual had done, so that the person that is retiring doesn't get to blow their own horn. Somebody else does it for them. And his name was Master Chief Mason, a man that I can tell you I would have gone through hell and back for him, holding gas cans. And I see him, and he sees me and my buddy Will, and he comes running across the deck because we were on there's a battleship. I think it's the Wisconsin in Norfolk that is now a museum because my buddy's aircraft carrier, which I believe was the Nimitz, if I'm not mistaken, or the Lincoln, one of the two, was in the shipyards at the time. Um, so he had his retirement ceremony on the ship, and he just came running across the deck and said, "I don't remember your names, but I know who you are." So we were like, "Yes, yes, Master Chief. My name is so and so, this guy, whatever." And we were with you on the GW. And he's like, "Yes, yes, I remember you. I remember you." And then he said, please tell me you've done something with your life. And so I told him that I went to school and that what I was doing. My buddy was a paramedic in North Carolina. And he just smiled and said, "Ha ha, outstanding. I could have never asked anything less from my man." I gotta tell you, when he said that, I would have, if it wasn't because I was too old, too fat, I would have joined the Navy right there and then when he said that. I felt like time had not passed. And after his speech which was so beautiful, it was about dedication and devotion to duty. And he even mentioned, he said, look at these two men here. They spent time with Petty Officer O'Donnell, and now they feel compelled to come and recognize their friend for his accomplishments. And in the civilian world, they have accomplished and done this, that, and the other. And when he said that, it just felt so nice to know that we're a part of this community that not only fights to keep our seas above the surface, under, and the air above it free, right? These people that make this conscious, free, voluntary decision to do this, that we're part of this community regardless of where our career choices take us and regardless of how many time passes. So I still remember that. It was a great moment for me, and a moment of healing. Because in a way, sometimes you feel guilty, like, "Ugh, should I have gone out? Should I have stayed in?" So, with that said, if you're thinking about joining the Navy, or you have joined and you're waiting to go to boot camp, I wish you the best. If you are still in, I hope your experience is as good as mine was. And if you're a veteran, I hope that you have found some type of kinship, that you could probably see yourself in, like, oh, that happened to me, type of thing. Um, my channel is dedicated to soccer, football. But I wanted to put this video out there. I don't know. I just felt like putting it out there. Maybe it's a way for me to just put it out and put my feelings into it, and let it out, right? And go whatever it needs to go. Which, by the way, I fell in love with soccer or football in my time in the Navy. So I left the Navy with something that I still carry on with me till this day. Um, Anyways, thank you for watching. Hope it was of great help for you. And if not, at least you heard my story.